Hi. I'm glad that it seems to be showing up okay. Let me know if the stream is like laggy or weird or anything, because it is on like a higher frame rate and there's like more information being transmitted, and I don't know how that's going to work. I like shut down basically everything that was non-essential to me doing this, so hopefully my computer can handle it. It seemed to be doing okay the other day, but we'll find out. Stretch, big stretch. Okay. I've waited about 10 minutes, so I might just get on with things. I don't know why, there just hasn't been a lot of people lately, which is kind of weird. Like, sometimes I do this and there's at least like 3 or 4 people, and lately it's just been it's just been you, which is fine, but it's, I don't know if I'm just doing it at like a bad time for everybody. It is the middle of the day, but everybody's at home. Everybody should be at home. So, I don't know, dude. You and your clones. But, I mean, I'm not that upset about it. I'm happy to read. It's good practice for me regardless. So it's not a big deal. Yeah, it's totally fine. You do you. I'll probably just, like I said, just read my thing, and I'll do a recap so that we know where we are, and we'll all be good. So we're going to be reading Though Near or Far today, chapter 3. There we go. So, to recap what happened in the last chapter, let me just remind myself really quick. Right, so, Michael, who has had his memory wiped, basically chased the crew, in the, yeah, and Frogurt happened, basically chased them through the fake good place, thinking that he was sent there to, I mean, he was sent there to torture them, but not having any memory of being their friend. He broke Eleanor's wrist, and he has now captured Eleanor and Jason, and Chidi, Tahani, and Janet have all escaped. And yeah, Jason threw an ice Molotov at at Michael, getting him covered in Frogurt. However, you know, I don't think it was very effective. So, all right. So, this is chapter 3, and just a heads up, there is some torture in this one, so it's a little bit rated M in this chapter, but we will go from there. Okay. And just let me know if my volume is okay, if it needs to be turned up at all. Cool. Okay. All right. When Eleanor wakes up, her shoulders are on fire. That's not literal, which it totally could have been. No, her arms are bound above and slightly behind her head at a really painful angle. Her wrists are encased in thick metal, and, notably, not her wrist brace. Awesome. She's in the town square. It's wrecked. The buildings are all just burnt-out shells, and a few of them have caved in entirely. It feels like such a weird Michael touch. She knows there hasn't been enough time for everything to have really burned down, so he must have just redone the buildings for the look of it. What a drama queen. If she cranes her neck, she can catch a glimpse of the lawn, still green in the corner of her eye. It was maybe 2 days ago, but it feels like years since the 6 of them sat out there. They were all tired of dancing, so they spread blankets out on the grass like little kids at a picnic. Eleanor shakes her head sharply. Focus. Jason is a few feet away, in the same position. He's still out, which means that his arms, bound to the streetlight above him, are holding up most of his weight. The angles of his shoulder blades beneath his skin look painful. Eleanor swallows. Jason? He doesn't move. Eleanor growls in frustration. Maybe she could get him down if she got loose herself? She yanks at her own restraints, twisting her wrists. There's zero give. The metal cuts into her skin, and she has to clench her jaw to keep from gasping aloud as something pops painfully in her shoulders. Black spots dance in her vision. She blinks hard at the ground. She can't pass out again. Hey, you're awake. Michael's there as her vision starts to clear. He's clean and composed again, still wearing that same gray suit. He spreads his hands and grins. Good news, your friends abandoned you. Ugh, no. Eleanor would love to roll her eyes, but she has to settle for steadying her breathing. It doesn't mean anything. The others are way too smart to charge in here right away. They'll make a plan, figure out something that'll work, and then they'll come. They'll have more time to do that if Michael's busy here. She should try to keep his attention on her and off the nerd square. She should try to keep his attention on her and off the nerd squad out there. Real creative look you got here. She nods around at all the fire damage. I'm surprised you aren't literally holding a pitchfork and wearing little fake devil horns. What is that? Blood? His brow furrows as he glances over his shoulder at the dark liquid flowing through the town fountain. Antimatter, actually. If you drank it, your body would slowly start to explode from the inside. Isn't that just demon coffee? He'd told her about it once. One late night when they were the only ones still trying to finish their papers for class the next day. It'd tear you apart, of course, he'd said, his tone towards her human weaknesses already a little kinder by then. But I do wish you could have some. I think you'd like the blend I keep in my office. She can't think about that now. I mean, you should have gone with clam chowder. That's scary. Michael stoops a little to catch her gaze. She hadn't even realized she'd started staring at the cobblestones. That's a weird, gross idea. Huh, yeah, that's me. Eleanor grits her teeth in frustration. Fork this. What's she getting all sad for? It's not going to change anything. So is sitting here listening to you talk part of the torture or what? Oh, I beg your pardon, Eleanor. Let me do that again, because he never says Eleanor. He always says Eleanor. Oh, I beg your pardon, Eleanor. Is this not hellish enough for you? How about this? You can pick how I wake Jason up. He doesn't need all of his bones, does he? Michael turns to pace around Jason's body, slowly and theatrically, like the son of a bench he is. How about the kneecap? We can watch him try to walk around without any kneecaps. It's actually pretty funny. The legs just sort of... The gesture he makes flips Eleanor's stomach. It's not like she wants to get tortured, but watching him hurt Jason would be even worse. What's Jason ever done to anyone? Okay, Okay, no, but what's he ever done to anyone in the afterlife? Jason! Eleanor snaps again. Her legs aren't bound, so she slams her heel back against her street lamp. Her legs aren't bound, so she slams her heel back against the street lamp hard. The force of the thunk vibrates through the metal and rattles her skull for good measure. What? Jason jerks awake to see Michael looming over him. To his credit, he shrinks back as far as he can. Oh, hey, dude. He glances up at his hands. Aw, man, I guess you won. But I bet if we did it again, we could stay away twice as long. Eleanor gasps. We could, Jason! Jason! Jason, tell him that thing you told me about the baby manatee. Oh yeah, that was the best hiding I've ever done. Jason lights up, and Eleanor feels a sudden swell of camaraderie. She can't tell if he's picked up on her idea of stalling Michael, but he's always so ready to just throw in his lot with her. It's easy to imagine how so many of her trips to Mindy's included him. I was out in the swamp for 3 whole days. See, this one time, me and Donkey Doug went to the marina, and... I get it, Michael interrupts. You're both trash bags. I understand. He's slipped his hands into his pockets, head canted slightly in confusion at Jason. It's such a familiar posture that Eleanor wishes he'd do something else. You know, the other humans I deal with aren't normally so talkative. You do realize that you're in hell, right? And I'm going to... He trails off, brow furrowing. Pulling his hand back out of his pockets, he turns his back to them. What's that? Eleanor cranes her neck as far as she can without hurting herself. It's not far. Jason, what's he got? Jason's a little closer, and probably way more flexible. It's a blue marble, he reports, leaning farther out from his lamppost. It's kind of pretty. It's none of your business. Michael snaps, shoving the marble back into his pocket and sharply tugging his jacket back into order. But Eleanor's already connecting the dots. Michael, she asks evenly, do you have a good Janet marble? No! You don't even know what you're talking about. Michael bristles. Eleanor grins. Bingo. She still doesn't think she can talk him around. Michael thought they were a bunch of cockroaches. They all know he only ended up with them because he was desperate. But Eleanor can turn the tables a little. She can get under his skin. Oh, I know a lot of things, buddy. I even know where you got that. 'Cause you don't, do you? She drawls, ignoring the pain as she leans forward. That's a pretty weird thing for you to have, isn't it? Aren't you curious? Michael falters, only for a second, but Eleanor can see it. Please, I have more knowledge than you could ever hope to. Yeah. You can see in 9 dimensions and you're old as balls. Whatever, man. Doesn't mean we can't know something you don't know. I know a ton of things you don't know anymore, Jason agrees. It's kind of a bummer. And it being a bummer is actually one of the things you don't know. Dang, that's deep, yo. Shut up. Michael throws his hands up like he can't believe Jason's even speaking. Nobody asked for your opinion, Jason. I read your file. The only thing you're an expert on is being stupid. No, he's right. It's getting darker out. Eleanor can't tell if it's just evening settling in or something to do with Michael's mood. Either way, the only color left in this place is getting hard to see. I mean, fork! This is such a bummer. I really hate this. I wish you'd just... Michael's cocking an eyebrow at her over his glasses, his lips curled into a mocking little grin. Her words trail off as she meets his eyes, and her insides twist with regret. What are you smiling at? She snaps. This is really the most sad for you. Like, wow. You let a bunch of humans and a Janet get one over on you basically 2 seconds into your weird little project here? He rolls his eyes. Whatever. I have everything under control. Oh yeah? Eleanor scoffs. 'Cause it kinda seems like you have no idea what's going on. I know you guys don't usually make a whole neighborhood for just 4 people. Did you even ask any questions about this whole thing? Michael has the nerve to laugh. Why would I do that? This is great. I've been wanting a little more hands-on work, and my boss considers you for a special project. It's a win-win, except for you all. You all lose. Neat. I've always wanted to be someone's special project, Jason exclaims. So is this like a promotion? Sure. It basically is. Eleanor frowns at the hesitation. It's totally not, is it? Are you even an architect anymore? Or are you just back to that desk job you don't like? What? Any more? Michael steps closer, lowering his voice. What do you mean, any more? She shrugs as much as she can, clanking her shackles. Her wrist throbs. I don't know. I mean, you're the one who said we don't know anything. Guess it must have just been nothing. Bullshit. Michael frowns. That's bullshit. Why can't I... Did that bad Janet put a profanity filter in here? She shrugs. Sorry, I just skipped a spot. I'm reading what you guys are saying. I'm just kind of going back and forth. By the way, thank you, Ren. I worked really hard on trying to make a very cool, like, setup. I hope that it's coming through okay. Also, thank you for coming. I'm not sure if the waveforms are actually in time with my voice when they're supposed to be. I think, excuse me, there might be like a little bit of a delay, but I'm trying it out. And yeah, I love that. Old as balls and whatever. Very, very good. Okay, I'll keep reading. Janet's not bad, Jason protests. She's super cool and nice and a total hottie. Man, I can't believe you even forgot how great Janet is. I thought everybody knew that. Michael tugs his glasses off in one hand. You know what? He pinches the bridge of his nose like he's getting a headache. I don't normally actually hate the humans I torture. It's just all in a day's work. But you two are really pushing it right now, and let me tell you. He reaches out and puts his hand over Jason's mouth, almost gently pushing his head back until it meets the pole. That's a great way to get your mouth melted shut, he says, and Jason jerks with a muffled cry of pain. Whoa, whoa, whoa! Eleanor yelps in a panic. The skin around Michael's fingers is starting to turn red. She can hear sounds like when you fry bacon. Why are you doing that to him? What about me? She starts banging her foot against the pole again, shouting over the clanging and the ringing in her ears. I'm the one who keeps talking about what an idiot you're being. If you shut me up, Jason will shut up too. Michael arches an eyebrow at her. Jason's thrashing doesn't faze him. What are you saying? I should take you instead? Is that an option? Eleanor meets Jason's eyes for a second. She recognizes the type of fear there. She won't hesitate, though, not here, when the air is already starting to smell like burnt hair and meat. It's her turn. Because if it is, then yeah, melt away, buddy. Right in the kisser. Here we go. Why? Michael finally pulls away from Jason. She only gets a glimpse of the ugly handprint-shaped burn across his face before Michael's too close, staring down his nose at her. That nasty grin is gone. His expression is closed off, inscrutable. Because he's your friend? Yeah. She stares back at him, stomach in knots. It's stupid to hope, but all of a sudden, just for a second, it's like he's not having fun with this. Like he's listening to her. Yeah, that's how you solve the trolley problem. Remember? You sacrifice yourself. Michael returns her gaze steadily for a moment. And then he scoffs. Please. That's the dumbest and grossest thing I've ever heard. Do you honestly think he'd ever do the same for you? Because I can tell you right now, he wouldn't. Jason makes a quiet noise of protest. Michael doesn't seem to notice as he leans down until his face is barely an inch from Eleanor's. Someone like you. You've never had friends, Eleanor. You never even had a family. You died alone in a parking lot. And sure, some people noticed, but none of them cared. Not really. Your friend's got a new roommate 3 days later, ended up giving her most of your stuff. They call her New Eleanor. They called her New Eleanor for a month. Still do sometimes when they're drunk. It's like nothing even happened. He tilts his head slightly, lips curling into a smile. Maybe some people thought you were fun to hang out with, Eleanor. Maybe they'll tolerate you on their little adventures, but at the end of the day, you're just not worth sacrificing anything for. Eleanor's... Now I'm doing it. Eleanor's eyes are stinging. Her chest is tight, and fork! She can't cry now. She can't cry. What is she, some stupid little kid? Fork you. She lets out her breath in a sharp huff. Fork you, Michael. She flails her legs in a useless attempt at a kick. One he sidesteps easily. You want to do this? Fine. Let's do this. The only reason you're being such a dink is because you're starting to freak out and you can't admit it. This again. Michael sighs. Could you just... Don't interrupt me! Eleanor snaps. The words are coming easily now, almost like someone else is doing the talking. You have no idea what's going on, and you know it. You're always acting like you've got things under control, but you never, ever do. Sean's never gonna make you an architect now, because he knows you'll screw it up, just like you screwed up with us. Michael's lips curl. Michael's lip curls. Be quiet. Jason's hissing something, but Eleanor can't hear him over the rushing in her head. And you know what? You talk a really big game for a guy who has definitely never had anybody give a crap about him before. Yeah, I know you're all demons, but nobody ever hangs out with you at the office parties, huh, buddy? Nobody wants you on their projects. He'd told her that on the train. She remembers it well, his voice low, his bony knee knocking against hers with his purple bow tie laid carefully out across it while he looped its straight red replacement around his neck. It was one of the last times they spoke. Now it's just so easy to spit it back in his face. Nobody likes you. They all just think you're some annoying dweeb who's way too into office supplies. Who's ever going to sacrifice anything for you, Michael? I told you to be quiet. If she hadn't been too angry to pay attention, Eleanor might have expected the sudden shouting. She's not sure she could have predicted the way Michael turns on his heel and lunges for her, eyes hard and lips drawn back like a feral cat. But then again, as his long fingers close around her throat, Eleanor suddenly remembers the trolley and Chidi's face painted with gore. Lashing out. She'd laugh if she could breathe. Yep, they're a real pair of classic shell strops. And that's chapter 3. I'm sorry that it's very graphic. But yeah, I just really like this story, and as awful as it is, I have like a whole hurt comfort thing that I'm really into, and I'm just like, there is a cathartic end to it. So if you can get through this part, it's quite nice. It's good. I'm gonna super quick go break time. I'm doing break time. Oh, there we go. Is it gonna do it? Can you guys still hear me? Yeah, the bacon thing is it's a bit much. Oh no, I'm so sorry, Aaron. I did not realize. I did not realize. Um... Huh. I'm not sure if you guys can hear me when I switch over to my other channel thing, my other picture thing, so just let me know if you guys could hear me the entire time. I'm very sorry that, I don't know. I'm just worried that it's annoying. Yeah, worst. Worst absolute. How do you expect me to look at these things? How dare you? Um, I'm just gonna drink some water and stuff. Yeah, the bacon thing is, it doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me, but maybe if I was eating bacon, I would feel very different about reading that. So sorry about that. Uh... And you guys, like, both you guys said the sound. Oh no. Well, if it makes you feel any better, in the next thing I'm reading, there's no reference to bacon, as far as I know. So, and you guys were saying the sound was okay and everything, like, wasn't going in and out too bad. Wait a second, are you saying that I'm a ham actor? 'Cause you're probably right. Stretches, big stretches. Okay. So, let's continue on then with Awakenings. Unless, okay, I could do another chapter of this because it was kind of a short chapter. So it's up to you guys. I could do chapter 4 of The Near Far, or I can do the next part of Awakenings. It's up to you guys. Matrix. Okay, cool. I will do that. So I will do a recap of it. Let me switch over to... I changed my cover art for Awakenings. I'm still not super happy with it, but I just think at least it doesn't look quite as bad. I think. I don't know. It's a different cover art with a picture that isn't quite as, like, pixely as the last one, so there we go. Let me... I can't look at it without the guy going, like, slapping his hat on his knee and being like, I forgot the door! I did it again! Oh, crap! But, yeah, what does it symbolize? I kind of like the idea that it's like this weird sort of not real reality, and I think that's kind of why I was like, oh, I'll use that. But also the artist is from Chicago, and the world of the Matrix is very gently, very softly like the mega city in it is supposed to be basically Chicago. So slaps hat on leg. Damn it. It's such an old-timey way of being upset. But yeah, so yeah, so to recap, oh my gosh. Yeah, which I feel in my bones. Amazing. Okay, so to recap, we have met Aleph, and what happened in the last chapter was, she sort of explained how she became, or how she came to end up working in the Zion archives. So Aleph said that she was on the Hyperion, and that she was having insomnia, she wasn't sleeping properly, and yeah, so she realizes that she's not sleeping properly, she's not eating properly, any of that stuff, and they basically say, like, well, we have a job for you. Counselor Haman says, we have a job for you. You could basically be a librarian. You can go work down in the Zion archives. And what she said she is doing is she's running basically tests to make sure that the Zion archive hasn't been breached. So it's all very routine kind of stuff. She's like, I run programs, I alter them, I run them again. And I'm just making sure that nobody's trying to infiltrate the system. Like, nobody's hacking the system. And at the very end of that last chapter, she runs into a record called HF12-1. And the finishing sentence is basically like, it seems that the Zion archive is not as impenetrable as we once thought. So basically, she's found something in the system that's not supposed to be there. And now we're going to be reading the next chapter. Thank you. Yeah, we just finished up I was already partway through though near far when you joined the stream. So that one's done. We're going to be going on to the next one. This will be posted to, this is going to be posted to, YouTube. So you can always go back and re-listen to it. It's not an issue. Or you can watch it here on Twitch. Twitch only keeps the videos for a certain amount of time though. So, it'll be up for a little bit, and then it'll be gone forever to the voids of time, except on YouTube. Okay. Oh, it's good for me too. Like, I've noticed, sort of as a side note, I've noticed it's really good for me to do a recap. It reminds me of where we are, but it also helps me to kind of look back at the story and make sense of what was happening, which is kind of nice. It's like it not conceptualizes, but it makes you kind of have to break it down and then think about what actually happened, and it helps for like understanding the story a bit for me. Anyways, okay. And now I'm going to stop waffling on. No offense, Waffles. The antechamber to the Zion archives was the same size as the room in the real world, but well lit and much barer. In the corner sat an old-fashioned workstation, a computer of a type commonly seen inside the Matrix, across from a chair of worn black leather. The only other object in the room was a nondescript beige telephone affixed to the wall. For a moment or two, Aleph stood in the center of the flawlessly polished floor, letting her eyes gradually adjust to the cool white glow. Usually she found it soothing after the constant dusk outside, but not this time. It had taken her more than 2 solitary, increasingly frantic days to give the archives a first thorough scouring, and most of another to pin down the codes that had come up to a point of relative stability. For once, she was grateful for the insomnia that kept her going. Whenever she tried closing her eyes, she only saw green lines anyway. Sorry, there was something that I forgot to mention about in the recap, real quick. So we also established that Aleph is not necessarily mentally sound. She keeps having conversations in her head with her dead sister, who was shot by an agent. So heads up, I forgot to mention that part, and I just remembered it. Okay, we'll keep going. The enigmatic HF12-1 itself was turning out to be a name only, one that did not match any listed among the records. She checked again and again, scanned and dug endlessly, exhausted every trick in her bag. Yet the name remained stubbornly, mockingly nothing but a name. Whatever substance that might have once gone with it was still hopelessly elusive. But her search did turn up something apparently closely related, and just as troubling. Running over the routine that had surprised her 3 days ago, she had caught a bare glimmer of new green on one of the other monitors, synchronized to the exact instant when the other tantalizing line flashed across the main screen. Eventually, she had tracked it down, but almost immediately it became all too clear that this was not the file contents she had been pursuing, but another unmatchable record. No more than a fragment, no identifying markers, but it seemed old. Much of the code deteriorated and unreadable. Somewhere along the way, the thing appeared to have gotten mixed up with the other name, which by now was ticking inside her head like a loud and insistent clock. HF12-1. It was easy to come up with innocuous explanations. She might have simply blundered into a piece of old training file from 20, 50, perhaps 100 years ago. It could be the practice of a young operator just learning to write up a virtual room or house or world. For all she knew, it could be the remnants of a movie or music video that somebody had copied from up there and neglected to register. But keeping everything protected and accounted for was her job, and Aleph did not like mysteries. And there were too many things that did not add up. She could not duplicate the fragment. Each time she tried to make a copy, only a mess of nonsensical bits and pieces resulted. If it was an encryption, it was not any kind used in Zion, nor any known types in the Matrix. That in itself was enough to set off several alarms. There was still one more method, however. Aleph could tell that the fragment was a record of some sort. If she could learn nothing from lines on a screen, she would try to look at it from another vantage point. The inside. It had been a fight to stabilize the thing, but she had prevailed in the end, and the record now appeared solid enough to enter. Of course, given the small amount of code and the degeneration, she would probably not see much, but it was worth a try. Now that she was in the antechamber, Aleph briefly debated going to the phone and calling someone to watch over her while she went in, but decided against it. Even in Zion, 2 o'clock in the morning was usually considered a bad time, and the record did not look dangerous. Crossing over to the computer, she entered a quick command. The white room melted around her. Shadows, darkness above and below. The first sensation was one of vast open spaces, as if she was on a wide plain beneath the sky, although she felt no movement of air. An eerie silence enshrouded all. Her eyes began to focus. There were several light sources, behind her and ahead. Fires. No wind stirred, but the flames were fluttering. There was an unnatural slowness to their eddies and swirls, and the light they gave was bleached out, pale as washed bones. Carefully, Aleph lowered her gaze, but the ground seemed both right beneath her feet and far away at the same time, and she could distinguish nothing. Was she standing on the plain, or perhaps floating above it? Even that was unclear. Movement ahead reflected upon the dim flames. From the distance, Aleph could barely make out two indistinct figures, swerving and shifting rapidly, backward and forward, as if locked in battle. One was dark, its form harsh amid all the vague shadows, and the other was white, like a patch of dawn in the murky night. It was the only bright thing she could see. She had to make it closer. Aleph struggled forward, hoping to get a better look. But the air was heavy, and it felt more like swimming than walking, like the stumbling steps of a sleeper caught in dreams. Her hand brushed harmlessly against one of the pale phantom fires. There was no heat. The dark one was an agent. She saw that now from the way it fought. Every move and attack, one after another. But the white figure matched them with fearsome speed, one after another. The punches and kicks came with relentless fury and in silence. An absolute, infinite silence that now felt more sinister than ever. Aleph was close now, almost right next to them, drawn half in fascination and half in fear. The two fought on as if she did not exist. The agent surged forward once more, then was forced back once more. The battle unfolded, like in an ancient film, yet the faces of the combatants remained obscured, and their forms blurred, as if she was seeing them through a heavy mist. The congealed air trembled. Everything was flickering, in and out of existence. "File ending," said a calm female voice overhead. Aleph blinked as the clear white light of the antechamber flooded over her. Slowly, she let out a deep breath. Time elapsed. 43.72 seconds, according to the screen. It had felt longer from the inside. After returning to the real archives room, she sat down to make... That's me screwing up. After returning to the real archive rooms, she sat down to make a few notes. No interactions, neither oral nor tactile sensations, visuals only, and highly degenerated visuals at that. Not surprising given the state of the code. So it was a piece of old training program, fragments of a fight against an agent template. Setting unknown, but probably the work of someone who had read plenty of science fiction before getting unplugged. What with the flames and all? That wasn't surprising either, really. But those two figures... Why had the code resisted all attempts at duplication, then? Why had she not been able to match the file? How had it become entwined with a name that appeared to be completely unrelated? The two forms, raging back and forth, one dark and one pale. Their movements. There was something about their movements that she should have seen. That must have been it, the nagging feeling, impossible to shake off. Aleph closed her eyes, mentally sorting the images together, seeking details that might have slipped her notice, playing over the dream. It was a record, not a dream. Why had it felt so much like one, then? She must have missed something from the scene, a small thing, a detail, but important. But the file was far too decayed, far too dim, too little light. could she have seen it, whatever it was, with more light? More light. More light, she muttered under her breath. Well, duh. There's no more light because there's no more stars, suggested a familiar voice made out of thin air. It sounded mildly impatient. Don't you even remember the stars, Addie? No, pleaded Aleph voicelessly. Maybe she really had gone too long without sleep this time. The last thing she needed was for her own mind to start messing with her again. I miss the stars, you know. Everything had happened so fast. She had looked up, ready to pull Lucy down to the ground next to her, but where her sister had stood an instant ago there was only a tall, dark shape, whose face she could not see. The only thing she had seen was the gun in its hand. Not now, Lucy. Please. Hey, Addie? Do you remember when we were kids? Whispered her sister, blithely on, disregarding her. At Mom and Dad's cabin upstate, by the lake. The night sky was so great out there. I used to stare at it, and I thought the stars were... You used to stare up at the night sky and say that it was like a dark curtain that covered everything, or a thick, thick black wall with countless doors, except one couldn't see those doors because they too were painted black. But the stars were in truth tiny breaks in the curtain, keyholes to the doors, and if you could only find the key to one, just one of the stars, and give it a turn, behind the wall it would be light, all light, nothing but light, glorious, more light than any human being could ever imagine. I remember, Lucy. So, did you see a star in there for me, sis? With an abrupt movement, Aleph stood up. The chair squeaked shrilly across the floor. There are no stars, she said to herself harshly. There is no voice. Stop. Just stop. Her words echoed against the walls. The room was awash in shadows, as it always was, and all of a sudden the familiarity of the gloom weighed down upon her like stones. More light. Even the sterile, false light of code would be preferable to this. However, once inside the antechamber, the unshaded fluorescent brightness made her eyes sting. Aleph sat at the workstation for a while, struggling to focus her sight on the monitor before her. Think of the record and nothing else. There was something in the file that she was missing, something right in front of her eyes that she did not see. Leaning forward, she typed the command again. The same dim openness above and below, the same ghostly flicker of firelight to all directions, the same pair of swift, blurry shapes, the same eerie, utterly silent fury. The dark one bursting forward in attack, blocked. Once more, blocked. The white figure counterattacking now. There was an abruptness to the agent's moves. Was that what she had not noticed last time? Something seemed strange, a kind of wrongness that she couldn't quite put her finger on, as if its form had gotten disconnected from the rest of the codes, as if the image was wounded? But that made no sense. There was something she was missing in this scene. Like in a recurring dream, Aleph went forward, moving automatically and nearing the two figures, though they shifted almost faster than her sight could follow. Once again, she had to strive against the weight of the air. It felt like a tangle of watery currents. There was something she was not seeing. Something she could not see. She could not see it because there was not enough light. There was not enough light because... Her heart leapt into her throat. Then she saw it. A blue spark slicing across the night, a fallen star out of the heavens. For a single instant it flared, a meteoric arc of brilliant azure, drawing away into the flames. Deadly and beautiful, indescribably terrifyingly beautiful. Aleph's eyes widened in shock. Then she sighted it again. The metallic sheen of a sword. The howl of crashing metal and a rush of fiery wind. She did not even get a chance to cry out, but was flung forward onto her face with sickening force as something exploded behind her. The ground swayed, slipping like a blown leaf from the blast. She caught a spinning glimpse of a fathomlessly deep blackness close by. Too close, almost right beneath her, and every muscle in her body screamed as she clawed desperately at the debris for traction, scraping her palms painfully. Something rough and hard cut against her fingers. She clamped onto it furiously, her legs dangling over the abyss. The noise was ear-shattering now, as if the entire world was collapsing on itself. With a heave, Aleph pulled herself back onto solid ground. Her hand was still gripping the piece of steel girder protruding from the concrete. It was twisted and blackened with soot. When she lifted her eyes again, everything had changed. And that's the end of the chapter. Yeah, so it kind of comes out of nowhere. I guess they're sword fighting now? Like, it's not bad. It's just, you do have a moment where you're kind of jarred and you're like, wait, what? When did they start fighting with a sword? They're clearly, so she's gone into this program, she's gone into this record, and there's two people fighting, and it's a short record. And then she goes in the second time to see if she can see what she missed, and she said that she saw a light in the sky. And then they talk about a sword. I'm not quite sure why. I'm not quite sure why it wasn't there the first time. I don't know if that gets answered. I don't remember. Yeah, sword fighting is like, I mean, in I don't remember if it's the second or the third one, the one with the highway chase. I mean, Morpheus has a katana. So they're like, what if we just gave Morpheus a katana? Yeah, so I'm just gonna do, sick guitar riff. Hell yeah. Hell yeah, Julian. Hell yeah. So I think that's probably all for today, unless there's something that you guys would like me to read. It is no problem. It's no problem, my dude. And this has all been pretty smooth for you guys? Like, you haven't found that the video drops at all or anything like that? Like, it's been pretty straightforward? Perfect. That's good, because I was worried about maybe my computer not being good enough to stream it very well. So, it's all good. Yeah, I think at the start it takes a second for it to, yeah, figure its whole deal out. But I'm glad, because I was worried, like I said, I was just worried it was a bit much, but I think it's okay. I think it's okay. Cool. So yeah, I've been going for about an hour. So if there's anything you guys want me to do, just let me know. I know that, Waffles, you had another Captain Disillusion thing, which I would be very down to read. Yeah. But just let me know. What I'm gonna do real quick is I'm gonna go to break time, and then, I'm gonna go to break time, I'm gonna get some more water, I'm gonna eat a little bit. I won't be too long. When I say eat a little bit, I'm just gonna grab like a little snack, and then, it'll be a sec. So let's switch to break time. Sorry, I'm just trying to figure out my microphone shit. Ah, okay, yeah. Okay, then rather than that then, let's just end it. And then we'll reconvene maybe later today. if people feel up to it. Cool, 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 cool. All right, then thank you guys for coming to my live stream. I really appreciated it. And I'll see y'all later. Take it sleazy.